Have you ever wondered how a land so small could be the center of such a prolonged conflict? Today, we embark on a historical journey, traversing the winding paths of time to understand the roots of the Israel-Palestine conflict. A region smaller than New Jersey, yet its story reverberates across the world, influencing global politics and touching countless lives. This tale is a complex tapestry of faith, identity, and struggle that spans millennia. Join us as we delve into the intricate history of Israel and Palestine. Our tale begins in ancient times, in a region known as Canaan. This land, steeped in antiquity, was a melting pot of diverse cultures and peoples. Its rich soil and strategic location made it a prized possession for the many empires that rose and fell around it. Canaan was a stage for the grand theater of human civilization, where the narratives of nomadic tribes, city-states, and empires intertwined. The Egyptians, the Hittites, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, and the Romans, among others, all left indelible imprints on this land. They built cities, established trade routes, and left behind a rich tapestry of cultural and historical artifacts. But Canaan was not just a passive canvas for these powerful empires. It was home to a rich diversity of people who shaped its destiny, from the Canaanites to the Philistines, the Israelites to the Nabateans. Their stories of resilience, innovation, and survival echo through the ages, adding to the region's complex and captivating history. The Israelites, or the Hebrews, held a special connection to this land. Their story, as told in the Hebrew Bible, is one of migration, settlement, and the establishment of a kingdom under the rule of Saul, David, and Solomon. This kingdom, however, would not last. It was divided, conquered, and its people exiled, only to return centuries later. In addition to the Israelites, the land of Canaan was also home to the Phoenicians, renowned as seafaring traders and the creators of one of the world's first alphabets. Their influence spread far beyond their city-states, leaving a lasting legacy on the Mediterranean world. This land, rich in history, was destined for a complex future. The diverse cultures that thrived here, the empires that rose and fell, the people who lived and died, all added layers to the intricate tapestry of its past. As we delve deeper into the history of Israel and Palestine, we must remember that this land's story is not just about conflict. It is also a tale of faith, resilience, and the enduring human spirit. The roots of Jewish and Arab histories in this region run deep, each a vibrant thread in the tapestry of this ancient land. Jewish history in this region dates back to over 3,000 years ago, with stories of Abraham, the patriarch of Judaism, who was believed to have settled in the land of Canaan. Over the centuries, the Jewish people experienced periods of sovereignty, exile, and return, their history echoing with the rise and fall of kingdoms, the wisdom of prophets, and the resilience in the face of adversity. Simultaneously, the Arab presence, established over centuries, has richly contributed to the region's cultural and ethnic diversity. The Arab history in this land is not a monolith, but a dynamic narrative of nomadic tribes, powerful caliphates, and periods of scientific and artistic renaissance. The Arab influence permeated the language, culture, and social fabric of the region, adding a distinct flavor to its multicultural milieu. Yet it is essential to remember that the Jewish and Arab histories in this region were not separate chapters, but often overlapping narratives. They coexisted, interacted, and influenced each other, painting a complex picture of cohabitation, conflict, and cooperation. At times, these communities lived side by side in relative peace, their lives woven together by trade, kinship, and shared experiences. At other times, they found themselves at odds, their relations strained by political upheavals and socio-economic tensions. These intertwined histories set the stage for the events to come, laying the groundwork for a saga of faith, identity, and territorial claims. As we delve deeper into the history of Israel and Palestine, we'll explore how these long-standing Jewish and Arab presences evolved into the national identities we see today, and how their intertwined histories have shaped the dynamics of this enduring conflict. But for now, let's pause here and reflect on these ancient roots, the seeds from which the modern narratives of Israelis and Palestinians have sprouted. As we step into the 20th century, two powerful movements emerge. The first of these movements was Zionism. Born in the late 19th century, Zionism was a Jewish nationalist movement that sought to establish a homeland for the Jewish people in their ancestral lands. Theodor Herzl, a journalist and playwright, is widely regarded as the father of modern political Zionism. The movement gained momentum in the early 20th century, especially after World War I, when the horrors of the Holocaust underscored the urgency of a safe haven for Jews. Parallel to this, Arab nationalism was on the rise. Born out of a desire for independence from Ottoman rule, Arab nationalism sought to unite Arab people under one sovereign state. This movement was fueled by a shared language, culture, and history. By the 20th century, the Arab world was seeking self-determination, rejecting foreign control, and aiming to reclaim their lands. The intersection of these two movements in the same geographical space set the stage for a complex and often violent struggle. The tension escalated as the British Mandate of Palestine, granted by the League of Nations after World War I, facilitated Jewish immigration to the region. This influx of Jewish immigrants, many seeking refuge from persecution in Europe, was seen by the local Arab population as a direct threat to their own national aspirations. Both Zionism and Arab nationalism sought to fulfill a collective desire for self-determination and nationhood. However, their overlapping claims to the same territory, coupled with the political machinations of the era, led to a cycle of conflict, displacement, and resentment. The seeds of a decades-long conflict were sown, and the landscape of the Middle East was about to be forever changed. The stage was set for a conflict that would shape the century. In the aftermath of World War I, a new player entered the scene: the British Empire. The Ottoman Empire's fall presented an opportunity for the British to extend their influence in the Middle East, and they were granted the Mandate for Palestine by the League of Nations in 1922. This mandate was not just a simple handover of power, it was a commitment to prepare the region for self-governance. The British were tasked with maintaining the peace in a land where the aspirations of Jews and Arabs were increasingly at odds. The Balfour Declaration of 1917, issued by the British government, had already expressed support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This promise, however, was seen by the Arabs as a betrayal of their own aspirations for independence. Throughout the 1920s and 1930s, tensions escalated. Jewish immigration into Palestine increased dramatically, fueled by the desperate circumstances of Jews in Europe. Arabs, fearing the loss of their majority, protested vehemently. The British, caught in the middle, attempted to placate both sides, but their efforts often fell short. By the late 1930s, violence had become a common occurrence. The Arab Revolt of 1936 to 1939 was a significant manifestation of this unrest, resulting in the British cracking down on both Arab and Jewish armed groups. This period of the British Mandate was marked by an increasingly fraught balancing act, as the British strove to control a region on the brink of conflict. Despite the British efforts, the seeds of discord had been sown. The establishment of the Jewish Agency in 1929, an organization aimed at facilitating Jewish immigration and settlement, further fueled Arab fears. Meanwhile, the Zionist movement was growing in strength, with the dream of a Jewish homeland becoming ever more tangible. By the time World War II ended, the British were unable to contain the escalating conflict. The Jewish insurgency against British rule, the continued Arab-Jewish violence, and the international pressure following the Holocaust all culminated in the British referring the matter to the United Nations in 1947. The tension simmered, ready to boil over. 1948, a year that would forever change the landscape of the Middle East. The State of Israel was declared, a homeland for the Jewish people, many of whom were survivors of the horrors of the Holocaust. This momentous event marked the culmination of decades of Zionist aspirations, but it also ignited a fire of conflict that continues to smolder to this day. The declaration was met with immediate resistance from neighboring Arab states. They refused to accept the partition of Palestine, leading to the First Arab-Israeli War. The conflict was fierce and brutal, with neither side willing to concede. The war ended in 1949, but the scars it left behind were deep and enduring. The aftermath of the war saw significant shifts in population. Approximately 700,000 Palestinians fled or were expelled from their homes during the war, creating a refugee crisis that persists even today. These individuals and their descendants, often living in refugee camps in neighboring countries, continue to seek a right of return to their ancestral homes. Simultaneously, a reverse migration was taking place. Jewish communities from Arab and Muslim countries, facing persecution and hostility, fled to the newly established State of Israel. They were welcomed as fellow Jews, though their integration into Israeli society was not always smooth. This period was marked by triumph and tragedy, hope and despair. For some, it was the realization of a dream, the establishment of a Jewish homeland after centuries of persecution. For others, it was the beginning of a long nightmare, a displacement from their homes, and a struggle for identity and recognition that continues to this day. The establishment of Israel and the subsequent wars did more than redraw the map of the Middle East. It altered the course of history and changed the lives of millions. While some found a place to call home, others were left yearning for a home they could no longer return to. The map had changed, and so had the lives of millions. The following decades were far from peaceful, as the region was marked by continuous conflict and ceaseless strife. The historical tapestry of Israel and Palestine became increasingly complex, colored by a series of wars, uprisings, and attempts at peace. The Six-Day War in 1967 was a significant turning point. In less than a week, Israel had seized the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. This swift victory not only expanded Israel's territory, but also intensified the conflict, as hundreds of thousands more Palestinians found themselves under Israeli control. In the aftermath of this war, a new form of resistance emerged. The Palestinian Liberation Organization, under the leadership of Yasser Arafat, gained prominence, advocating for the rights of Palestinian refugees and expressing the national aspirations of the Palestinian people. The late 20th century saw multiple attempts at peace. One of the most notable was the Oslo Accords in the 1990s. For the first time, the Israeli government and the Palestinian Liberation Organization officially recognized each other. They agreed on a plan to grant interim self-government arrangements in the West Bank and Gaza Strip and a framework for the establishment of a Palestinian state. Yet, the optimism of the Oslo Accords soon faded. Implementation proved challenging, and the accords ultimately failed to bring about an end to the conflict. The situation was further complicated by the assassination of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, a key proponent of peace, and the subsequent rise of more hardline Israeli governments. The turn of the century brought with it the Second Intifada, a period of intensified Israeli-Palestinian violence. This uprising resulted in heavy casualties on both sides and further eroded hopes for peace. Despite attempts at peace, a resolution remained out of reach. The history of Israel and Palestine, a saga of faith, resilience, and enduring conflict, continued to unfold. Its chapters marked by deep-seated tensions and the persistent quest for a harmonious coexistence. As we step into the present day, the conflict continues, with a series of complex challenges adding layers to the already intricate tapestry of the Israel-Palestine dispute. One of the central issues is the establishment and expansion of settlements. Following the Six-Day War in 1967, Israel began building settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, territories it had newly occupied. These settlements are considered illegal under international law, a point Israel disputes. Today, these settlements house hundreds of thousands of Israeli citizens, creating facts on the ground that complicate the quest for a peaceful resolution. Secondly, the status of Jerusalem remains a contentious issue. Revered as a holy city by Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike, its significance cannot be overstated. Israel considers Jerusalem its undivided capital, a claim not recognized by much of the international community. Palestinians, on the other hand, envision East Jerusalem as the capital of their future state. This dispute over Jerusalem's status adds another layer of complexity to the conflict. Finally, the right of return for Palestinian refugees is a profoundly emotional and politically charged issue. When the State of Israel was established in 1948, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were displaced. They, along with their descendants, number in the millions today. Palestinians argue for their right to return to their ancestral homes, a claim Israel views as a demographic threat to its Jewish majority. These challenges, among others, have made the path to peace elusive. The dynamics of the conflict have evolved, with shifting regional alliances, changing global perspectives, and the rise of new generations carrying the weight of this historical dispute. All these factors have shaped the contours of the conflict, making it a multifaceted issue that defies simplistic solutions. As we delve deeper into the 21st century, new questions arise. How can the aspirations of both Israelis and Palestinians be fulfilled without compromising the other's rights? How can historical injustices be addressed in a way that paves the way for a shared future? And most importantly, how can peace be achieved in a land that has known so much conflict? The struggle for peace continues, as complex as ever. The path forward is fraught with difficulties, but the hope for a resolution lives on. The quest is not just for a ceasefire, but for a peace that addresses the root causes of the conflict, acknowledges the narratives of both sides, and ensures justice and dignity for all. It's a daunting task, but one that is crucial to the future of Israel and Palestine, the Middle East, and indeed, the world. The history of Israel and Palestine is a tale of faith, resilience, and enduring conflict. It's a narrative that spans thousands of years, filled with the rise and fall of empires, the birth of religions, and the shifting sands of cultural and political landscapes. We've journeyed through ancient beginnings where the seeds of today's complexities were sown. We've seen the intertwining Jewish and Arab histories, each leaving indelible imprints on the land. We've witnessed the emergence of Zionism and Arab nationalism, ideologies that would forever shape this region's destiny. We've walked through the tumultuous era of the British Mandate, where competing claims and communal violence set the stage for the decades of strife that would follow. We've seen the establishment of Israel and the subsequent wars, each conflict etching deeper lines in the sand. The ongoing conflict, the fruitless peace efforts, the modern challenges, they're all part of this unfolding story. The issues of settlements, the status of Jerusalem, and the right of return for Palestinian refugees, they're all threads in this intricate tapestry. This history, complex and contentious, has and continues to shape the Middle East and indeed, the world. The echoes of the past reverberate in the present, influencing geopolitics, human rights, and cultural identities. As we reflect on this history, we must remember that it continues to unfold. The future chapters of this story, as yet unwritten, hold the promise of peace, the potential for understanding, and the hope for a shared coexistence. Thank you for joining us on this historical journey. If you've found value in this exploration, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support enables us to delve deeper into history's intricate tapestry. Join us next time as we continue to explore the complex past of our world. Produced by a team dedicated to unraveling the threads of history, our profound gratitude to everyone who contributed to this endeavor. Remember, history is a journey, not a destination. See you in the next journey through history.